Hey, Rich Caruba for bowlingball.com. I'd like to talk to you about review your bowling performance. I think it's important not just after each session on the lanes that you recap or review in your mind how you performed, whether you bowled well, what things you did when you performed well, when you delivered the ball well, and what things maybe you struggled with. And also it's important at the end of a bowling season, for example, at the end of your leagues, at the midpoint, I think it's important to always review your bowling performance. So, when we think in terms of league bowling, which is pretty common to all of us, you want to think about it overall. If you're looking at your season or the first half of your season as example, you might want to think, have you underperformed or overperformed relating to previous averages or averages in other leagues? Were you steady enough on a week-to-week basis? And if not, if you've had too many poor scoring sessions, which has helped lower your average beyond where you really feel you should be, then you want to think about it. Was it the first game typically the lowest scores that you had and where you had the most trouble, the middle game or the end game? And you can record the scores if you keep copies of your recap sheets, and you can see what your average was the first game, second game, third game, for example, and overall average. Then it'll give you an idea where your strengths are and where areas where you might need to give some support. For example, if in the first game you're getting off to a slow start and you're missing the pocket too often on freshly oiled lanes and getting some kind of an overreaction where your ball either skids too far or it hooks too soon, something unpredictable, then you might want to look around for an answer. Do you need a ball change? Are you using the wrong surface texture on your bowling ball to get started, where you're getting too much friction or too much bite or too much skid and the ball comes in late behind the pocket, you don't carry, or you even miss the pocket? All those things you have to answer to yourself honestly and truthfully based on what you see happening. So when you're going through the phases of bowling competition, you want to monitor where you think areas are that next time you can adjust for and anticipate you might have a solution for. If it's the second game you're struggling with, maybe the lanes are starting to transition, a little bit of breakdown on the front part of the lane, a little bit of carry down, the angle changes that you need is maybe requires a little change, your angle of attack. Maybe it's a hand position change or loft or speed control change. And ultimately, maybe it's a bowling ball change. And certainly in your third game, we know that the oil has carried down the lane. It's going to break down on the front end. Sometimes a pattern sets in. It's easy to read the lane and get a consistent reaction in the last game. Or sometimes you just need to change bowling balls in your angles and your delivery and do something to get that consistent read in the mid lane and on the back end in your final game of competition in league, for example. So maybe you switch to a ball not only with a different surface technique but a different drilling layout that doesn't overreact on the front part of the lane or the back end of the lane. All those things are considerations you have to make based on what kind of reactions you're getting. And of course you want to take that information back to your coach, to your pro shop operator, discuss those things, anybody who's close to you in your bowling team, and make sure that you address those issues as you practice or as you prepare for your next competitive session. And there's always the possibility that you need to tune up your game too, huh? We all do. Nobody's perfect. Even the best bowlers in the world go to a coach occasionally and make sure they got their A game, quote unquote, in all going in the right direction. So when you're bowling well, it's easy to make adjustments. But if your game isn't tightened up, then and you got some issues that you have to rehearse or practice or solve, then it's difficult to make adjustments when you're not making good deliveries. So don't be bashful. If you have to see a coach, go do it. If you've got a pro shop operator you trust and you rely on, go see that person. But we want to work on your game, and you want to identify the things in your heart and deep down inside in your mind need attention to get your average scores back up, raise your average again to where it should be, and get the kind of performance you're capable of. I hope some of this helps. Thank you.